Welcome to All Things in the Name of Love. If you like this show, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks. Welcome to another episode of All Things in the Name of Love. And today I have with me Susan Jane, and I was like, oh, I guess I should press the record button because we've been having so much fun chatting. So among other things, she is known as the I've had water, Intuitivist, and you have practical applications of intuition, and I love that. And so some of the things I wrote about you is that you had the opportunity to go through some emotionally abusive relationships. You had a near-death experience, and then a very strange attack on yourself where the perpetrator left you for dead. And so I'm guessing that like all of this helped you awaken to the deeper sense of who you are, but I'd love to hear about your journey.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the
You're
podcast. I'm really
welcome.
excited and the
Oh,
lovely chat we had before.
you're
Um,
welcome.
yeah. So my journey, my spiritual journey started very, very young, which I didn't have an understanding of. So,
Mhm,
we go through these as children, we have these experiences that happen, and you don't really realize what they're about, or you don't get that understanding until you get a bit older.
mhm.
I had a situation, and you're talking about the attack.
Yeah.
I was 19 at the time,
Oh, wow.
and it was a pack rape. So there was three that decided to do that
Oh,
to me.
wow.
I was on holiday, so I didn't know like the area or anything.
Hmm.
But when this attack happened, I had this feeling. I remember thinking, there's nothing I can do to stop them. I tried, but the more I tried to stop them, the more hitting and more punching and the more violent it became. So it's like, okay, I can't stop them from doing what they're going to do. So, suck it up, princess. You got to go with that. Don't make it too hard on yourself. But I remember thinking, but how can I stop them doing it to anyone else?
Mm.
And in an instant, I left my body. Now,
Oh,
again,
wow.
I did not know what was going on while it
Hmm.
was going on.
Oh,
I
good.
found this out like 15 years later, 20 years later when I was reading about it.
Hmm.
But I actually left my body. But now, all I remember was I was standing outside of the car. This was happening in the back of a car. I was standing outside the car, and what was happening, I walked home and I got a tap on my shoulder, and I turned around and I was king hit and knocked out. And I came to being dragged into the car by my hair, into the back of the car.
Wow.
So, so they were very violent in that sort of side to it. So
Yeah.
anyway, I've left my body. And as soon as I've said, how can I stop them doing this to anyone else? I left my body and I was watching it happen. Now, the whole area was like, it was at night, but it was like a full moon, but it wasn't a full moon, but the coloring when you've left your body, the coloring was like a beautiful full moon night where you've got
Okay.
the darkness, but that beautiful bluey glow.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at what's happening. Now, when I talk about it, I tend to refer to she or her because it didn't feel like me.
Okay.
I was watching, so I was in this third party type thing.
Hmm.
And I was watching, and I can remember seeing the blood coming down the side of her mouth, but I couldn't taste anything. And I
Okay.
remember sort of seeing the energy coming out the back of the head, and it's like the heat off the road. I could see the energy coming out of the back of the head where she
Hmm.
was dragged into the car. You could see all these things happening. I could no longer smell the cigarettes or the alcohol that I did when I was first in the car.
Hmm.
So our five senses are very different in the spirit. We don't have those five senses in the spirit
Okay.
world. Now, I say I could see this, but I was more of a knowing rather than a seeing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and so you're experiencing this sort of thing. I'm thinking, wow, this is really weird. And then I believe I got the answer to my question, which was, how do I stop them doing this to anyone else? And straight away, I'm back in the body. Now, when you're back in the body, you feel everything. You
Yeah.
feel, obviously, you feel the whole lot.
Yeah.
Out of the body, it's really lovely. It's really quite a nice experience. And you don't have the emotional attachment. I could see it happening, but there was no emotional attachment. So
Mhm.
the spirit doesn't have that in that context. So as I've come back into the body, the guidance that I was given. Now, I don't class myself as a religious person. I don't follow a particular religion or anything like that. Very spiritually minded. But my message was and I only knew two prayers, which I learned in primary school. And it was, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. And I started to say that out loud to them. And again,
Wow.
I'm not a religious person. That's not my go-to.
Right, right, right,
Obviously, it was my go-to.
right.
Um, and every time I said it, they would hit me, and I would say it louder, and they would hit me again, and then I'd say it louder, then they'd hit me again,
Wow.
until it got to the stage where I had the hand around the throat and around the nose, and basically I passed out. That's when I was thrown out of the car and left in the gutter in the side of the gutter.
Wow.
Almost 12 months to that day. Now, I talked a little bit about it, but I didn't share that side of it because I
Yeah.
just did not understand what was going on.
Mhm,
Just
mhm.
just could not get my head around it. Almost 12 months to the day was when I had my near death experience. Again, left my body. I was at work, I passed out, lost everything. You know, I can go right through all that where I went. Why I know I left my body is because I was laying down. Now, apparently, I was laying on a banana lounge, and I didn't even know I was working at a bank. I didn't even know the bank had a banana lounge. They put me on this banana lounge. But I remember standing up and going, "Hey, why are you all looking down? I'm here." And they're all still looking down. I'm
Mm.
up here. And that's when I just kept on going up.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I had this near death experience there, where you I wasn't walking through a tunnel, but you were on a path. You couldn't see the path. You knew you were on the path. And then I had like all sparkles around everywhere. It was all glittery and all that. Then I saw these darker sparkles. And as I've gone in, now remember, this was like I was 20 at the time. So we're talking 40 years ago.
Okay.
No such thing as mobile phones or anything.
Right.
But that's what was hanging. When I got close to these darker sparkles, they were like a little TV screen, like a little mobile phone. And it had my memories in there.
Oh, wow.
So it was really fascinating. But even the whole feel of it, the whole, it's just a gorgeous place to be. But obviously, I wasn't supposed to be there because they sent me back.
Right.
But it was a beautiful place to be. So that was the second time. The third time I left my body was deliberately. So I did it deliberately. I thought, nah, I had read a book on astral traveling, and I went, okay, let's see if this stuff works, because I'm a theory tester. Let's see if this stuff works. And it took probably took 4 6 months, something like that. And at night I'd go to bed and I'd go, okay, I want to travel, I want to do this, I want to do that, and just went through the little processes. And I remember one morning or night, and I was heading down the driveway. I was flying down the driveway.
Oh, cool.
I've gone, oh wow, look, I'm traveling. And as soon as you have any emotion, bang, straight back in the body. So
Mhm.
they were three of those areas that, again, that not the last time, but the first two, I didn't know what a near-death experience was until later on when I read it. I read it in my 30s, mid-30s, and that was when I went, oh my God, that's what happened to me. The book
Yeah.
I read had about 5 different experiences in it. And none of them were identical, but little bits and pieces were similar.
Mhm.
And it was like, wow, that's what happened to me.
Mhm.
And it all started to make sense. But by
Mhm.
then, I was well and truly, I was going through my emotionally abusive relationship. And by then, I had started actually doing a lot of work on myself. We didn't have the internet in those days,
Right.
obviously. So was off to the library and grabbed all the books I could find on you know
Mhm.
personal development, spiritual work, and finance too, because I like doing that side of things, how to make money. It wasn't working too well, but still I was like learning. But that's sort of what got me on the journey. And when you start reading these books or listening to podcasts like this and you start to get that understanding, you can reflect back and go, oh, okay, something like that or something similar to that has happened to me. And if you've got
Mhm.
a name for it, then you can research it and have a look and sort of go, was that what I experienced or was it not? And I believe that, that the majority of people have experienced stuff like this, but they're
Mhm.
just not aware of it, or they
Right.
just don't have a name to it.
No, I agree because I remember as a little one, I remember tying myself to my bed and astral traveling so I could come back.
Yep, yep. Yeah.
And and I was like, I don't even know where to try. It was pretty much a nightly thing. And then after my grandfather died and the family just went into turmoil, I stopped it because I couldn't do both, like manage the 3D family falling apart and coming back together in different configurations and astral traveling.
Yep.
So since I was in a body, I chose that. Um, but as I've gone on the remembrance process, I am amazed at all the things that I already knew that
Yes.
I'm remembering again.
Mm, mm, absolutely. And it often happens in our childhood. And then by the time we get to school, that our norm, our childhood at home and stuff like that is changed. And so we tend to close it down once we hit
Mhm.
school, once we hit high school or the
Yeah.
primary schools and that. We tend to close it down because we want to fit in.
Mhm.
And if no one else is talking about, you know, you going off traveling during the night, if no
Right.
one else is talking about it, you tend to not talk about it. If somebody
Mhm.
brings it up, then oh, maybe you will start to talk about it.
Right.
But yeah, that's the sort of thing that we go with. So, I encourage your listeners to just go back and have a little bit of a think about some of the things that you sort of go, well, that was a bit weird. What happened then? And just get a bit more of a feel for it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean it's pervasive. I'm amazed that it's about 4 years ago I was living in Portland, Oregon, and I'm a garden manager for a public garden. And there's this big cedar. And I'm drawn to her. And I've been drawn to trees before, but like she really wanted to connect with me.
Yep.
And so I start meditating under her and I can feel an energy with her.
Yes.
And she shows up in a dream one night because I protected her grove of children
Yep.
um, from the potentiality of getting cut down. And she showed up and showed me all of the plants that gifted themselves to be part of my essential oil collection. And
Wow.
I woke up crying because like I hadn't thought of it before. I mean, I know I love essential oils and I know they're concentrated and I know it takes a lot of energy to create that. I
Yep.
hadn't really ever been aware of the process and the degree to which the plants were intentionally offering themselves for our healing.
Gifting
And
them. Yeah. Yeah.
it was such a beautiful level of because it just awoke me to how all of life wants to communicate with us and we're the ones that have cut ourselves off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all there. It's all there. It's whether, and I mean, the thing is too, we can connect with all of it. And we're all spiritual beings, so we can connect with all of it. We can do it all. Whatever you hear other people doing, you can do it all.
Mhm,
But usually you find different areas of your expertise. And for
mhm,
you, it's helping animals. So we all have our own little way. I'm into the flowers. So we all have our own little way of being able to help people and the tools that we use to do that.
mhm.
And flowers are just a tool in what I do
Yeah.
to help people. I shouldn't say flowers are just a tool because I love them.
They're amazing beings.
Oh, absolutely. And as far as I'm concerned, that they represent your goals in life. So if it's a particular flower that interests you, it's part of your goal in life. It's part of your desire or your wants, where
Mm,
you want to go, and that's why it keeps popping up in front of you, or it's there for some reason. But yeah, we all have our strengths and our abilities. So when somebody says that, like you said, you did a lot of astral traveling. We get to the stage that I remember when I was doing all the spiritual work, and I recommend this to everyone. Have a try at different things. Like I wanted to try astral traveling and I had a go and it took a little bit of time and I really went, wow, I did it. I don't need to do it now. If I'm
Mhm.
supposed to, it will happen naturally without me
Right.
having to work on it. But
Right.
it's like any sort of physical exercise. If you want to be a, you know, a rower, it's a matter of practicing and getting it done. So it's what really resonates with you, what really appeals to you. And again,
Mhm.
yours is the animals. And if that appeals to you, you will find you will be able to do it. You will be able to do it quite easily,
Mhm.
and it will come so succinctly for you and to you. So if you're trying to do something and it's not working, try something else. Like there's pendulums, there's
Right.
witchcraft if you're into that. There's all these different things, and they're all just tools to help you connect with your intuition, to connect with your psychic, to get that energy level
Mhm.
lifted.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the primary goal is like today for some reason, my guilty pleasure is ABBA. I will
Okay,
admit it. I just love
love that.
ABBA. And so before I did things today, I listened to Take a Chance on Me, which is a codependent song, but it's so catchy. Like
Yeah,
most of like the early ABBA stuff was kind of codependent. And
yep.
so, but catchy as all heck. And so it just brings me joy to hear the guys go, take a chance, take a chance, take a chance, 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 and the girls singing. And and I don't know, it just like we can anything to raise our frequency, especially right now in this time of consciousness, is so important because I mean, we're talking like this probably won't come out till May, but like we're like 3 days after the eclipse,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's I'm feeling, whew, I've had like one massive influx of energy. The next day, I got boomerang back with anxiety. And I'm like, okay, like this is so interesting to feel all these things. So, like, to have things to help you raise your frequency while we're having this massive shift in consciousness is
yeah.
really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Personally, I'm going through this feeling of learning to live in the moment. You know, we
Mhm.
talk about it all the time, but it's really resonating with me at the moment because there's things that we want to do and things that I want to get done, and I keep getting the message, no, it'll come through. You don't have to force it. You don't have to push it.
Mhm.
Enjoy, live in the moment, let it happen. Because I'm going through all these changes too. So
Yeah.
it's and a lot of the physical side of it. But it's like, no, don't push it. Because I'm one of these people that will go, okay, I'm going to be changing my job, so I'll put this in place and I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. And they're saying, no, just let it all happen. Let it all come forward for you because you don't need to do anymore. And so I feel like because I'm a bit of a task worker, I
Mhm.
feel like I've just got to pace at the moment and just
Yeah.
enjoy these beautiful conversations I'm having and just, hey, if I want to go and get my nails done, just go and get your nails done.
I love that. I had this thing this morning. Like, so I wake up with, like, I won't call it a panic attack because it didn't feel like that, but like massive levels of anxiety. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, you want to be anxious? Okay, feet, I want you to feel the rug. I want you to feel the cold tile on the floor. I want you to mouth, feel the banana, feel the
Yeah.
cereal. I want you to feel this because body is in a state of anxiety.
Yes.
And so how do I calm the body down is slow down with
Yes.
all of my behaviors and like really engage my senses so my body knows it's safe. And I've never had to do that before. I haven't had that kind I didn't have that level of awareness, and B, I don't get anxious in the morning. I get anxious at like middle of the night anxious, like that kind of
Yeah.
anxious I had. So the fact that it showed up when I'm fully conscious was really fascinating. I'm like, oh, look, you're trying to distract yourself. You're trying to do all these things. You're getting hyper. You want to do all this. Okay, so now you get to slow down. And that conscious reset was like, it was new. It was like, it's like I just stopped the neural pathways, and the neural pathways were like, but we're anxious. Like, no, you're not. You're not. You're just feeling an energy.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the day has been more present with myself. Well, what happened was I wrote, I'm going to be present with myself all day. And that's what caused the anxiety. And so,
Isn't it when we're trying to be positive? It's like, oh, whoops.
but it was just so amusing to see that part of me like, oh no, no, we're not going to be anxious. We're no, no, I'm not going to be present. I'm like, really? Oh, honey, I love you so much because this is what's coming through that my higher self wants me to be. So I'm going to be present. And sure, I'll even be present with you. I don't want you to like the
Yeah, yeah, it's like the two voices, one angel and the devil, isn't it? On
right,
your
right.
shoulders, yeah.
But it's just so funny because like as the awareness has come in and I see the old patterns, it's like, you know how to do this. Just bring awareness to it. And it's like, oh, you're right. I do know how to do this. And before, like even 3 days ago, I didn't have that level of awareness.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite surprising, isn't it? I
Yeah.
had I do readings at a local shop here in Australia. Well, I'm in Australia on the Gold Coast. I do readings once a week at a local shop here. I like to be able to get out every now and again because I get stuck behind the computer, obviously. Um, but we had nothing all day. It was a really quiet day and everything else. So, I'd do a few other bits and pieces. But right at 5 to 5, when we were due to close, I had a lady come in and she wanted a quick half an hour reading. And it was like, it's not my shop. And it was like,
Right.
is that okay? Do you want to do that? And like I said, I do flower readings, and we look at goals in your life and how do you want to achieve them, and allow your intuition to connect with this particular flower, and we'll do a reading on it. So
Mhm.
I do it that way. This was very different. And like you said, it's more of an awareness. Now, I know I can do, I call myself an intuitive medium. I know I can do that, but I haven't had the need to. I've always put the flower image in front to give me a bit of a buffer zone. Um, but this lady, she sort of came in. I said, okay, all right, I'm not going to do a flower reading for you. I know I have to do something for you. Just start talking to me and tell me what's going on, and we'll let the messages come through. And she's just started talking. And as there was particular things that she said, and bang, that came through really clear. And then bang, another one came through. So then we started talking. But her 6-year-old granddaughter had just been sexually abused, and the family is going through all of this. And I thought to myself, if I'd known that before I brought her into the room to do the reading, I probably wouldn't have brought her into the room, because I would have done the same. I would have thought, oh no, I don't want to. Oh gosh, what if I say the wrong thing? And that the devil on your shoulder started
Mhm, mhm.
really. So it was
Yeah.
like, no, I got that stronger feeling, that better awareness to say, you got to help this lady. And I went,
Mhm.
okay, I'll do this. Came in, and then when I found out the story, it was like, oh my God. Um,
Wow.
but the information was coming through so strongly for her.
Mhm.
I was able to step back and go, this is not about me
Mhm.
and whether I can do this or not. This is
Right.
about giving this poor lady
Mhm.
the information that she needs to help
Mhm.
her daughter and her granddaughter get
Yeah.
through this.
Yeah.
So it was really quite, um, after she left, the owner of the shop and I sort of said to her this was what it was about. And then we
Mhm.
both broke down and had a cry. Um, but it
Mm.
was really good that I could hold myself together for her
Yeah.
benefit. And
Yeah.
as you're saying about the different awareness, that to me was a strong aha moment. I know I
Mhm.
could do it, but when you're put into a position like that and you can do it, then you turn around and go, okay, I'm doing this for the right reasons. I've got the right energy there. I'm not doing it based on ego. I'm doing it because I want to help this person. And basically, I was told to. Like, do you have a choice when you're told?
Well, you
When
can
you put
always choose. You can choose,
yes,
but because
but
I
you tend
have
you tend to go the right way.
the few times in my life where I've had the intuition and I haven't chosen the intuitive hit
Yep.
did not come out so well.
No,
Did not
we
come
have
out so well.
choices,
Yep.
but yeah, yep. When you're sort of told to do something like that, or when you get that strong urge, you don't have to do it. You're correct. The physical side of it doesn't have to be done, but yeah, it doesn't always work out too well.
Right, right. No, I know when I went down to Shasta, it was like ha- December 2020, so like really high energy with COVID,
Yep.
and I'm in Portland, Oregon, and I love the Portland I remember living in. That's the best way I can put
Yes.
it.
Okay. Yep.
And energetically, I got kicked out because I didn't follow the narrative. And so I'm brought down to Shasta, and I remember seeing my friend Angela, and she and I have a very deep soul bond, and I felt like she was passing the baton for me to hold space for the mountain. So 3 years later, I come up to Oregon, and I've been to Oregon a couple times, but like I as I hit the border to Ashland, Oregon, I have this, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
free, I'm finally free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free." So it was definitely a guided assignment
Yep.
that I took because I felt like she was literally passing an energetic baton to me in some way. I don't even know what way it was, but I just felt
Yes.
it.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And it was an assignment that I knew I had to take because I could not stay in Portland as
Yes.
much as I love it, because energetically I'm highly sensitive, and I'm also very intuitive, and I just the frequencies didn't match.
Yep. 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 You just
So
don't feel comfortable. You just feel like a fish out of water, don't you?
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like, had I not followed my intuition, my life would have had a very different trajectory.
Mm. Mm. And it's not wrong. Like if something,
Right.
if you're getting those messages coming through and you don't follow them, that's fine. You don't have to. We all have choice. So, that's
Hmm.
that's our choices. We're on this earth for that reason, and we
Hmm.
don't have to follow it.
Right.
Um, so there's no, I guess what I say, there's no right or wrong. If I get the message and I want to follow it, I can follow it because it
Hmm.
feels right. But
Right.
if it's like, I don't know, I'm just not sure, um, you will get a learning from it. So it's still right,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. You'll
Yep.
get it, you'll get a learning. Yesterday when I was doing my morning walk, I've had this incident that happened. So I paid for my business name, and thought I was going through the Australian website, but it was like a phishing email, like a
Oh,
scam.
shoot.
It
Yeah.
wasn't quite a scam, but it wasn't right, because I'm thinking that's a lot of money. I only paid a little bit last time, and that's when I went into it. So I contacted them, and they said, "Well, yes, we'll cancel it, but it's going to cost you $53 to cancel it." And I'm going, "What? That's like nearly 30% of the bill." Like, no, that doesn't feel right. And I got a little bit upset about it. Because I did everything correct. But
Hmm.
there's no one there to support you when that happens. So
Right.
I ended up contacting the bank, and this long-winded sort of thing happened in the bank. Yeah, we'll do this. Send me that. Do that. Rah rah. But the first guy that I spoke to on the bank, I said, look, they're going to send me another email, and I have to approve that email by clicking on a link. I have to approve the email, and then they will send me the refund.
Oh,
And I said, it doesn't feel right. And he goes, no, don't click on the link. And I said, but if I don't click on it by such and such a day, I'm not going to get my refund. And so it was all this sort of going through in my head.
yeah.
Anyway, eventually, this was over a couple of about a month or two. I got an email the other week saying, phone the bank about it. And I went on my morning walk, and I went, oh, that's right. That's hanging over my head. What do I do with that? And I
Mhm.
had a very strong urge to fight it. You got to fight it.
Oh.
And I went, oh, okay, right, right. Like, do we have to use that sort of terminology? Okay. Anyway, I got home and I went, oh, you know what? I'm just going to suck it up, princess, and just let it go, because I just couldn't be bothered fighting for that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And then another message came through saying, fight it, a bit louder. Okay, all right. So I've contacted the bank and I went through it all. Well, I didn't know it was a scam. I just didn't feel comfortable with it.
Right.
Um, he went through it all again. He said, we need some more information. He went through it all again. I read him the email, did all that. He said, no, this is a phishing scam where they're using the Australian, it's ASIC, what they call ASIC,
Oh,
Australian
wow.
securities.
Okay.
They're putting that out in front first so you believe it's coming from them. And I said, yeah, that's what I
Wow.
thought. So he said, no, this is not good. We're gonna, yeah, you've got the credit back on your account, da 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 da. So all of a sudden it's gone from me having to fight and be uncomfortable and go outside my little comfort zone
Mhm.
to flipping it and going, because I listened to that, I can now help a lot more people you know,
Mhm.
because we've got the women in Australia business entrepreneurs business Facebook group. You know, I can actually put it out there and say, hey guys, be careful. What they're doing is they're looking up your ABN and seeing when your
Mm.
business is going to come, and they're getting it in front of you, and yeah, scamming it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, all of a sudden I feel like because I followed that, it wasn't about me again. It
Right.
was
Right.
about helping others. So
Mhm.
yeah. Wow, that was a long-winded one. Sorry.
No, but that's okay because it's a really beautiful example of like sometimes we get guided, often we get guided to get out of our comfort zones. Like when I started this podcast, it was 2018, and my guides were like, start a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, no. And so I'd record things that I, felt intuitively, and I shared it with one of my friends. 2019, they're like, we meant it. Get the podcast going. And I'm like,
Slap, slap, slap,
I was like,
slap.
wait, what? I don't want. There was a total. So I like did all the things. Got all the, and I was like, that's a lot. That's like way out of my comfort zone because I don't like technology.
Yeah,
Um, I can use it if I have to, but it's not my like. I'd rather be grounding outside on a lawn somewhere looking at clouds than like being on a cloud on a laptop. But like they're like, no, you get to sign up and sign up to all the things like Spotify and Apple
yes,
iTunes and iHeartRadio and Stitcher and all that. I'm like, that's uncomfortable. And the platform I use now does that really easily. The platform I used to use was not very easy.
yeah.
So I go through the whole thing. And then after the first four, I'm like, I don't know what to talk about anymore. And I don't like at the time I was like, I don't really want anyone to hear what I'm thinking because like it was my ego talking, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So the
absolutely.
fifth one, one of my colleagues said, hey, why don't you interview me? And then it's just been interviews ever since. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it wasn't about me. Nothing
Exactly.
was about me. Like nothing was about me. It was about like I have the skill sets and I have the abilities to do this. So a source is like, hey, we need you to use these right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Oh. And that's the funny thing because our ego, whenever we get those messages, our ego is like, no, don't make us do this.
Yeah,
And and yet when we follow it, we realize it has nothing at all to do with us. It has to do with what our gifts are and how they need to be used to help whatever that needs to help, but it's beyond us.
yeah, yeah. Oh, look, you've just, you know, you that's so resonating with me because, like I was saying before we started, I have a podcast. The Voice of Intuition is my podcast, and I stopped recording December last year.
Mhm,
It was just, it was getting too much. It was
mhm,
just so overwhelming. So I stopped it. But I've been in that two minds whether to let it go or whether just to have the break and then start it again. And because I've not done a lot of guesswork because of having this break, I sort of went, oh, I don't know whether I don't think I will start it. I don't think I will. But after you've just said that, I'm thinking, maybe I started it because it wasn't about me.
right.
Maybe that's why it was going on because I loved the interviews. I loved
Mhm,
to talk to other people. It's so nice to put it out there and be chatting because we getting all this information in such different ways. It's
mhm.
just it's fantastic. I just love it.
Oh, I do too. And I love the fact that you know, when I get to have a conversation with a guest, I get to learn about them. I get to learn about their gifts in the world, and I get to share that um, for anyone who feels a resonance for it.
Yes.
And then I get to make a new friend, which is amazing.
Win-win.
I know. It's like, oh, this I mean, aside from the editing and that stuff, it's just a joy to be able to have a heart resonance with someone else.
Yeah. 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 Especially across the other side of the world.
I know. You're like what time is it with you?
It is now 8 o'clock in the morning. Or it's 8:45 in the morning.
Okay, okay. So it's quarter to four my time. So we're
Yeah.
15 hours, I think.
Yeah. But see, you're a little bit behind. So I can tell you that today you're going to have a lovely, oh, it was sunny and now it's getting a little bit overcast. because we're in the future.
Right,
Woo-hoo.
right. Which is so that Dateline thing is so confusing. I remember going to China in 2016 and I lost a day.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
how did
How does that
that?
happen?
Yeah, and then I couldn't even catch up with the time zones because it's just
Yeah.
kind of a waste of time. So like we were there 2 weeks and I finally synced up, and then we get back and I'm experiencing the same day again. I'm like,
The opposite way. Yep, you lost a day all of a sudden. It's like,
it's so confusing. But
yeah.
it's it's just so interesting because I have a couple calls that I get and from Australia because one of the groups I'm in, and they have it at 2 o'clock in the wait, no, it's 2 a.m. my time.
Yes,
Uh,
yeah,
and I'm like, I love you so much. I
but I
don't do
can't do
2 a.m.
no.
I'll
I've
catch
had a
the
lot of
replay.
people ask me to be a guest, and I've sort of gone, I just can't do. I can't do. I tried the 2 o'clock. I've tried to do the early morning stuff, and it was like, yeah, no,
No.
nah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not at my best. And a couple of times I've got up, and then they didn't turn up, the people. So I've got up during
Oh,
the
that's
night,
rude.
done the hair, done the makeup, done the
Right, right,
rest.
right.
And then they didn't turn up, and I was like, oh, now I'm going to go back to bed and try and get some sleep. Oh, so no, I don't do that. In America, you can do the evening, early evening, like you say,
Mhm.
4 o'clock, and it equates to our early morning.
Yeah.
And the UK is the opposite, so we can do
Right.
early evening for their early morning. Yeah.
Yeah. It's and having the syncing, like I can't imagine syncing all three. That would
Oh,
just be too
that would
confusing.
be nah, that would be challenging. That would be actually be quite interesting. Somebody's got to miss out, I think, on that one. Someone's
Right,
going to
right.
be doing it at a ridiculous time of the day, yeah. But yeah, just keep it with two, you'll be fine.
Mhm. So I want to ask you something that just popped in. So it's related to because I know Australia got hit hard with the propaganda.
Yep.
How did you navigate that
The propaganda for what?
for 2020?
For 2020? I guess I can only speak to about myself,
Mhm.
and what I went through. And to be honest, I just didn't take it on board.
Oh, awesome.
I don't. I watch mainstream media a little bit. I watch social media a little bit, but I'm not a follower. I
Oh,
don't tend
awesome.
to go into groups, and so at the shop where I'm on Thursdays, they get right into the Telegram and stuff like that, and they're right into what's going on and what's happening. And I tend to not be that
Okay.
way because there's enough shit happening. Oh, excuse my French. There's enough shit happening in this world. I don't want to be on social media and have to cop
Yeah.
more of it.
Yeah. I
You know,
totally understand that.
and I might be a little bit of a Pollyanna as far as some of the other people go, but you know what? I love my life. I love what I'm doing, and I can't stop the crap. I
Mhm.
can't do that. I can change my attitude and I can, do things like that, but I really can't do anything like that. So I tend to not be that way. I'm an
Mm.
Aquarian, so I'm more of a
Oh, me too.
humanitarian.
Me
Yeah,
too.
there you go. More of a humanitarian.
Yeah.
So if I can help an individual, help those people, things like that, and lift their spirit, that's
Mhm.
that's my goal. You know.
Mm.
I can't. I'm not that big picture attack the government type doomsdayer person. I'm just
Yeah.
not that. So
No,
yes,
I love
but
that.
I do agree. A lot of people got roped into it. Like the eclipse was another one here in Australia. So we
Oh, it's
obviously.
huge in the United States.
Oh yeah, but you were experiencing it. We weren't
Uh,
experiencing it. Oops, your internet's gone funny.
Meditate today.
You're right. Your
Oh,
internet just
I'm
went
here.
funny.
Oh shoot, it says it's unstable. I don't know if somebody else might be on it. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but it
Okay, okay,
wasn't.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I just got this little sign saying internet unstable. I'm like, who else is on? Like I'm rural Oregon, I'm not kidding you. So it's like I live with two other people, and like if the three of us are on, the internet gets funky. I'm like, stop it. You know I have podcasts today.
yeah. Yeah. But yes, with your eclipse, Australia just went a little bit crazy. And again, it's the groups that you hang around with. Because
Mhm.
if I was with a different group, they wouldn't be going a little bit crazy. But it's the
Right.
group you hang around with. It's the people that you associate with. It's the energies that you're picking up.
Mhm.
So in this particular group, they're all saying that, everything's going to happen. The world's going to crash, rah, rah, rah. Quite doomsday, I can
Right,
assure
right,
you,
right.
which I just don't like to follow.
Mhm.
Mate, if the world's going to crash and we're going to, all die, so be it. I'm going to enjoy it while I get there. I'm not going to go
Mhm.
"Ooh," before I get there. So I'm going to go out swinging on a party. Um, but yeah, they went through all that, and I'm thinking, wow, guys, you're so wrapped up in that negative aspect.
Mhm.
That's all you can think about. And if you're thinking about those negative energies constantly, that's what you're attracting.
Mhm.
Because like attracts like.
Yeah.
And I go into the shop in this little bright bubble of light, and I go, hey, let's talk about this. Let's do this. Let's do that. I said the sign of stupidity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Let's
Mhm.
do something different and get a different result.
Right.
Um, so yes, we had it with the eclipse. It's just been phenomenal. I'm thinking, oh my God, everyone's talking about internet going down and this. And I don't disagree, but I don't like to live in that
Right.
negativity.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw so many potentialities. I'm like, none of them feel right to me. So I'm just gonna stay off social media because I don't need that energy.
Mm,
And I'm just gonna like meditate and go ground myself, maybe take a walk if I feel aligned. Like I was just not interested in playing in those fields because I didn't want to take on the energy of it.
absolutely. And that's what it is. And when people, I remember there were so girls when I was working with the football, there was some young girls there and they were saying, oh yeah, we're going to go to this rally, everybody's talking about it. It's all over the internet. And I've gone all over social media and I've gone, oh, you know what? I've not seen it once. And I said, you do realize that with social media, you click on something, they're going to put the same stuff in front of you all the time. So it
Mhm.
looks like everybody's talking about it, but
Right.
they're not.
Right. Right.
And this is where people get confused. They see it on the social media. They're hanging around with those negative areas or they're looking at those things because they're
Mhm.
interested. And I get that.
Right.
You do your research, but
Mhm.
be really mindful. The algorithms in all of that will go, here it is again. I do digital marketing. I know how to get that stuff in front of you. And I'm sorry to say, I know how to do that. But it also makes me aware that that's what they're
Right.
doing. So if I click on a crocodile video, they're going to show me more crocodile videos.
Oh my gosh. If
If
I
I
look at a
see,
website, just out of curiosity, I look at a
yes,
website, like every social media will like be showing it in my feed. I'm like, I was just looking. I'm not
yes,
like it's just like a thing I was curious about and I'm
yeah,
innately curious. So I look at things and then I'm like, wow,
yes. So
wow, so much
please,
for free
please, please,
will.
this is just all data. It's just all the analytics behind it. If you're seeing something like that, that's just how it's all set up. If that's so don't believe everything you see in there because
Mhm.
they're throwing it in front of your face. If
Right.
you click on something, they go, oh, they like that one. Let's give them some more because what they
Mhm.
want you to do is click on them, click on them, click on them, get an understanding, get a learning. And
Yeah.
that's the side of things that it gets a little bit scary. That,
Mhm.
I have like 5 different emails, like Gmail type thing,
Mhm.
and I'll look at, and I do it deliberately because I'll look at something, I'll only bring that up and I'll only look at it on that Gmail. It never comes up on the next one.
Mhm.
So if I want to look at something that I don't want Facebook to know about, I look at it on one that I don't have a Facebook attached to
That's brilliant.
because, because that's how it works. So anything on my phone, and this is on my laptop, on my computer,
Mhm.
anything on your phone is connected to your email.
Right.
So it will, and it's usually connected to your Facebook, it's Insta, whatever. So they're collecting that data and they're just
Yeah.
using it. They're
Yeah.
going to put things in front of you.
Mhm.
So I don't know why we went there, but
I don't either, but well, you
uh,
know what
people
it
get so caught up in it, but they think that everybody else is seeing the same stuff. They're not.
right. No, we're not. And it brings into a greater awareness of discernment
Yes.
because it calls us to like, I mean, I'm a former researcher and I can go down some deep rabbit holes, but I choose to bring my focus to things like quantum physics or how
Yes.
to raise my vibration because I know I'm a former news junkie
Yeah.
and that is separation.
Yes.
So, do I want to focus on things that create separation in my life, or do I want to focus on things that help me understand unification theory and the embodiment of it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess where I link up with it, when you're listening to your intuitive messages, when you are starting to really connect with your intuition and getting those messages, if it's clashing with what you're seeing, there's a reason behind it, is because, you've clicked on stuff and that's been put in your face. So
Right.
be aware that, you may feel you're going against the grain because it's different on what you're seeing, but the reality is what you're seeing isn't real, isn't reality.
Mm-hmm.
The intuitive messages you're getting coming through, that's your reality. That's
Yeah.
where spiritually, that's where you need to go, need to be following,
Mm-hmm.
not what's coming up on the computer programs.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I think that's why I went that way, because I can look
Yeah.
at those things and I know that that's not right, because
Right.
I'm hearing those messages, and that doesn't sound right. That doesn't look right.
Right.
Um, but when we see it and we're getting flogged with it on all the media, like on media, on social media, on all those areas, you start to believe it. We've got to
Right.
stop that. We've got to stop that. Really start to
Mm-hmm.
follow your gut, start to follow your
Right.
heart, start to follow those messages rather
Mm-hmm.
than the false messages that are coming up.
Right. No, I completely agree with that. I remember when there was a brief period of time I was living with my mom in Portland, and one of her favorite things to do was turn on the news. I'm
Yep.
like, can you watch Ancient Aliens? Because at least that's
I love Ancient Aliens. Wasn't that a great show?
an awesome show, but like at least that has like something interesting. It might not always be like accurate, but it's
Yep.
fun and I get
Yep.
to learn stuff and I get to like test my intuition.
Yep.
And it's not like doom and gloom all the time. It's theatrics for sure, but
Yep.
it's not bad.
No, no,
And
exactly. And it opens up your mind a little bit more.
yeah, and she would be like on Fridays they'd have marathons, which I was grateful for. But like 5 o'clock, I'd like hide in my room and I'd put my earphones on because like the news would come on for an hour and a half. I'm like, why are you watching this? Oh,
Yeah.
because I always watch the news. I'm like, but mom, it's not Walter Cronkite news. It's a different
It's a manipulated news.
right, right.
It's manipulated. Yeah.
Right. And so
And
she
that's what
she
people,
couldn't hear it.
yeah, yeah. Like we could take this whole video now that we've done, or this whole podcast, and you could pull out little bits and pieces and
Mhm.
make it sound completely different to
Right.
what it is when you listen to the full story. And
Right.
that's what they do with the media. They just take
Right.
out the bits and pieces. It doesn't matter if it's not true. They don't care.
Mhm.
What it's doing is getting people to switch that bloody thing on at that time and watch them.
Right. And create separation.
Yep. Yep.
And the things we have in common are so much deeper than the silly little separations that divide us.
Yep.
It's not even worth talking about because like anything that you hate is actually you mirroring you.
Yes. Absolutely.
And that's a painful lesson for a lot of people.
It's hard to see. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Because well, why do I hate this being, this public figure, this so and so? What
Mm.
aspect of them is triggering me that is a part of me that I haven't seen in myself?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I get to love that person for triggering me because they don't even know me and they're triggering me because they're a
Yes.
public figure.
Yes.
And I get to heal what's within me that feels separate from them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. They're put there in front of us for us to learn from. That's
Mhm.
that's what they're there. And if we can look at that person and go, well, yeah, I don't like them. Why? What is
Right.
it that you don't like?
Hmm.
Because that there's part of that in you, not to that extent. but there is part of that in you, and that's why it's triggering you. So we
Yeah.
need to look at that. Yeah, it's really quite fascinating. There's so many things happening and so many ways that we can connect and everything else. To sit on that phone and scroll through and everything else, I just find it's life wasting,
Hmm.
almost life wasting. But there's always the flip side, and I'm a flip sider person. The other aspect, because I remember saying to somebody, a younger person, I remember saying, oh, you're so lucky. You've got the options now of getting this information on the internet, on social media, in the libraries. You've got such an easy access to information
Hmm.
that it's so much different to when I was that age.
Right, right.
And they said, yeah, that's true. But we've also got the flip side. There's that much information. It's so hard to discern what is
Mm,
good and what is not so good.
right.
And I went, oh, I didn't look at it that way because, yes, we've got all those scams out there. You've got all that side of it out there too
Hmm.
that we're navigating with. And that's why I guess I go and get it on my soapbox now, but that's why I find connecting and trusting your intuition
Hmm.
so important.
Oh,
Because if it
yeah.
doesn't feel right, then there's something wrong. And it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that they've got to fix it. It means there's something wrong in you. It's not resonating.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's always for us. It's always
Yeah.
for us. I have, and this is a hard statement for a lot of people to hear, but nobody can actually hurt me.
Mm.
All they can do is show me aspects of myself that I have ignored or pushed aside or pretend it wasn't there for my highest healing.
Yes.
And that is a very hard statement to swallow.
Mm.
But I've had complete strangers trigger me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like, I can't blame them for that.
No.
They didn't do anything. They just showed up as them for me so I could see that part of me that I couldn't deal with before, and now it's front and center, and now I get to. Or
Mm. Mm.
or I can pretend to repress it anymore, and it's just going to be there until I heal it. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and that's the gift of being, is we came here to remember who we are.
yeah, yeah.
And if we came in with a long laundry list of items that we needed to heal, we're going to have a lot of experiences to
To
help
get
us
through
with
it.
that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is too, it's not about what happens to us. It's about how we respond to it. So
Mhm.
if somebody's triggering you, like you say, it's not, oh, they did this, they did that. It's not about what's happening to you. It's about how you're responding to it. And as you say, if you say, oh, well, they've triggered me. I need to look at that. I need to get an understanding. Why did that upset me so much? Why do I feel like a victim? Why is this? Why is that? And
Mhm.
that's what we're looking at. And again, I just keep going back to, trust your feelings, trust your intuition, trust what it's saying to you.
Mhm.
And even if you don't trust it and you go the opposite way, then you'll get another learning.
Right.
Because you don't learn the first time, you have to repeat it all. Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had so many opportunities to learn different aspects of codependency and narcissistic relationships that I think I'm done.
Yep.
I think I'm
I
done.
learned my narcissistic one. I'm not going there again.
No, not going there again. Definitely done with the people pleasing too. It's like,
Yes.
and that's such a thing with women, is because we're innately, we want to help others,
Mm,
but
mm.
that fine line between helping others and people pleasing, whoo, that's a
Ooh,
tough
yeah.
one to navigate.
It is, yeah. And you can slip in and out of that one, but that's okay because you're aware of it as well.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So it's funny because again that happened yesterday, and they were all going, oh, this poor guy, he's living out of his car and he's this and that, and I'm sort of sitting there thinking, you know what, you're only hearing one side of the story
Mhm.
because his girlfriend kicked him out, so he's living in his car, and I feel sorry for him. I'm thinking, hang on, you're only hearing one side of the story. Why did the girlfriend kick him out?
Mhm.
Does anybody know that?
Mhm.
you know, like you don't just sort of kick people out on the streets
Right.
like that for no
Right.
reason type thing, you know, not when you've been in a relationship with them. And you know, like I sort of go, hang on, we've all got our learnings. It's lovely to be empath, but don't be sympathetic where it becomes draining on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a learning in there. Is this guy really just trying to get your emotions and get you on his side so you feel sorry for him, so you keep on handing things to him? Is that what his ex-girlfriend was doing? Had to keep on hand feeding him because he wouldn't get off his ass and do something himself? I don't know. I don't know what the backstory is,
Right. Right.
but there's always a backstory. There is
Right.
always something else. So yes, you can feel for them, be empathetic to them, but don't fall for that where you have to feel like you're giving all the time, because that means that person's actually draining you and playing on you. So
Mm-hmm.
again, trust your feelings. Okay, I feel sorry for them, but and then it goes back to that old saying, do you hand them a fish or do you teach them to fish?
Mm-hmm.
Hand them a fish so they can eat for the day, or teach them to fish so they can eat forever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, um, and I don't know why I went there, but I did.
Okay. It's okay. Because it needed to be said.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, well, I am going to wind this down for now. And I'm going to ask you the final question, and that is, how do people find you?
My website is intuitivenature.com.au. So the AU is Australian business. You have to be a registered Australian business to have the AU. So that's what makes it safe. There you go. But yeah, intuitivenature.com.au. I've got I do workshops, but I've got online courses. Yeah, online courses there. You can learn how to do flower reading. There is an online course there to help develop your intuition as well.
Awesome.
And that's one of those ones where you can test out different things. You try. I'll show you how to do flower readings, show you how to do pendulum work. I show you how to do all these different things that may resonate with you, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can build on that area of it. So it's a
Mm.
little bit of a testy. Let's see what works.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, but can I just give them one idea on how to understand what their intuition,
Yeah,
whether
please.
it's like a yes no thing. So what you need to do is you stand up and you just relax yourself down, and you're a bit of an you're standing up there, and then you say um, define yes. You say define yes, and you will find your body will rock either forward or back. Majority of times
Mm-hmm.
it's forward for a yes, and then it's define no, and you'll often go back, and you just feel that slight movement. So then this is your intuition, because your intuition can manipulate, your spirit can manipulate micro muscles, which is what you do with the pendulum. They can
Mm-hmm.
do the micro muscles really tiny, and this is just enough to sort of tilt you one way or another. So then you can say, okay, all right, well, I just saw this on the TV. Should I go to this, event? And you'll get a yes, no answer.
Mm-hmm.
But just be really mindful that the questions that you ask, if you don't know, you won't get a strong one way or another. Or if it could be yes or no, because you've asked a question that has a possibility of half yes and half no,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you might not get a clear answer. So just be careful about what you're asking. So you've got a nice clear answer, what you want, and you'll either go one way or another. So that's one way of connecting with your intuition.
I tend to stand near furniture because I don't have subtle yes and no's. I have big ass.
Oh yeah, I've done that too. It's like,
Like, I've flopped on the bed before. I'm like, okay, that was a yes.
huge yes. Yeah, well, try and catch it before you hit the ground
Right,
anyway.
right, right. Like, put your feet wide. Oh,
Yes,
Susan,
stick it in the
thank
bed on the
you.
wall.
Thank
No,
you,
my
thank you,
pleasure.
thank you. I'm
And
so
thank you.
grateful.
Yeah, it was lovely. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so very welcome. And I thank you so much for your time and your work in the world and your beingness. I'm so grateful to know you.
Yeah, and you too.
Thank you.
Back at you, girlfriend.
Thank you, love.